Good morning, podcast community. And we're on the Kennesaw happenings, but specifically, we are talking about networking matters. Why does it matter? Well, our guest, Sara Branch, is going to go into why you need to be intentional, why you need to have a plan, why it's important in growing your business to understand the principles of networking. So, Sara, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Yeah. My name is Sara Branch. My title is Professional Connector because what I do is get people in front of their ideal customer. And I serve business owners and solo independent salespeople. So it's
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, independent salespeople to coach them on how to network. And it is a learned skill. So people do have to learn how to network.
That's music to myself because I like that when you say those words because I have seen, and you probably would see the similar things, is people think just showing up and meeting people and just talking to them that they're networking. Why would you say in your travels and how you've been working with your clients, what are they missing when they don't have that intentional strategy or thought process?
What they're missing is the ability to quickly connect with people. And that's what we want. We want connections. And that initial connection starts the know, like, and trust process. So you've got to be very intentional about meeting people, asking them questions, engaging in a conversation to make a connection.
What do you think? I love that. I mean, I totally agree. I'll say dittos. I think that's the
Okay.
proper term. So, when we look at your skill set, and we've known each other for a little bit, and I always am impressed by the intentional nature. You say you got to know your customer. You have to have a way that you connect with people, and you connect with people by the words you choose and your actions. What do you see out there that people might be like? Let's go through two scenarios. One person showing up just to show up, and one person showing up with that intentional connection mindset.
There's a big difference. The people who just show up may not even collect business cards, but usually what they end up doing is just collecting business cards. The person who shows up with an intention leaves with one-to-one meetings booked. I coach my folks to when they go to a meeting, they have to leave with a minimum of two one-to-ones already booked. Take your phone with you. Make sure your calendar's up to date. And if it's a larger meeting, then you should leave with three or four one-to-ones booked. But that's the major difference.
Yeah, and what you're saying, I want our viewers to really take that point home. You just described results, and results are everything. You can have a full calendar, be busy. You can do all the things that when somebody asks you, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm busy. I'm busy." That doesn't mean you're moving the needle on your business. Just
Right.
means you're a busy person and you're hooked on being busy. So I love that you just said you can monitor. If you book a one-on-one, that's a result.
Mhm.
You have made a connection. You have taken the next step to put that on your calendar. You have your calendar ready, as opposed to somebody that might say, and I see it because I think we see it from the same set of eyes, is like, "Oh, we got to get together sometime." That's not results sometime. It's like, "Hey, let's get together and do." I think we have commonality in what we're doing. So let's get together and see how we can collaborate. And you put it on the calendar, that's a result.
Mhm.
So why did you, I mean, this is such a, I think a learned skill, but a skill that not many people like. They'll go to leadership class, they'll go to all these master classes, but you don't see people saying, "Hey, I'm going to a networking master class." They just think that showing up and shaking hands, that's fine. So how did you get into this specific discipline that you're coaching and educating people on how to do it properly?
I started, let's say about 2 years ago. No, it was longer than that. About three and a half years ago or so, planning my exit from a corporate job. And
Mhm.
my husband already had a business of 20 years that was a franchise. And we decided that I should get into something that was complementary to his. I had been in sales a good portion of my career. The job that I was leaving was a director of training and development for a software company. So I had a real varied background. My husband happened to discover Network in Action via his network. He was asked to visit a Network in Action group, and it was a veterans affinity group. And after a couple of months, he came home and said, Sarah, this is perfect for you. So with my Network in Action group, I developed a training course called Connections Change Everything to
Mhm.
teach people how to network. I researched it. I researched sales training. Of course, there's a bazillion sales training courses, but to my shock, there was no networking training showing up on my Google search. So I decided, because of my background, I would write a course. So that's the course I've written, Connections Change Everything. And I really love seeing people learn a new skill or having one of those aha moments, the light bulb going off over the head. So
Mhm.
that's the result I'm looking for. And I did all of that to help people understand that networking is a skill.
Yes, it is. And I think it was a couple months ago when we were at a breakfast get together, and you said something about you were creating a course for franchise owners.
Mm.
And let me just give our viewers a little framing to it. I know a guy, Gary Graves. He was a corporate guy, had a high-level corporate job. He bought two franchises, one chemical, one junk. What did he do? He hired a local guy to connect locally until he learned the skill. It wasn't like, and I want our viewers to see the advantages of when we're in corporate America, we're not doing networking like you're talking about to our viewers locally, connecting, setting up one-on-ones. You're doing corporate is a whole different, it's so different. It could be night and day if we're looking at the difference between the two. Now, let me fast forward with Gary is he sold one of his franchise, and he was able to get over the hump of that corporate because he's traveling all over the world,
Hmm.
but he's not connecting locally. Now he has a local business. A contact in California is not going to necessarily help him here. He needs local networking intention. And franchises give you the systems, but they don't teach you how to locally connect, how locally to do what you're doing. So I want you to speak to my franchise owners, and I want you to what does the course provide for them that helps them learn the skill and be able to combine the systems and the processes of a franchise, but yet incorporate your skill set of how you're teaching them because of your background.
And thank you so much for putting those things together so nicely. Wow. Franchisors promote the brand, and franchisors make sure they do the marketing research and make sure they have the appropriate number of franchisees in a territory, and they promote the brand. What in my experience I have found is they don't do a good job of teaching their franchisees that they are the face of the brand in their local market. So that's what I train local franchisees to do, is to be the face of their brand. Now, their brand has value, but they've got to be able to construct a statement that is the benefit of doing business with you, the person. not the brand, the person, because the person is
Mhm.
the representative.
Yes.
So in order to do that, they've got to know their ideal customer. If their franchisor has not helped them identify who that is, then they need to go through an exercise of identifying their ideal customer, their target audience. Once they figured that out, they need to go find and go to places where their ideal customer hangs out. You know, if the favorite place in your city is your local business association or business club, then by all means you need to be there.
Mhm.
And you need to be networking as much as your time will allow. Once you've identified your customer and figured out where they're hanging out, that's where the rubber really meets the road. This is the secret sauce. You walk into a business association and you've got to have in your head, I want to meet at a specific customer profile. If it's a business owner, if it's a mother of children, if it's whatever that profile is, and the top person on that profile, let's say real estate agents. So your goal is to go into that meeting, identify at least 2 real estate agents, maybe 3, and leave with one-to-ones booked to them because they are your top person. The
Mhm.
way you get a one-to-one booked is you get a nice little conversation. What do you do? What market do you serve? Oh, this sounds really great. I'd love to find out more. Let's get a one-to-one. I find out what you're working on and see how I can help you. Networking is a helping activity, not a selling
Yep.
activity.
Totally.
And once you get to the one-to-one, we could go through how to ask marketing qualifying questions, sales qualifying questions, that kind of thing. And then once you've gotten past that, then you move. That's when you switch to the selling process. So, that's what I do. I teach people how to identify their ideal customer, find out where they hang out. That's you find people that know your people already, and get one-to-ones and get them qualified.
That's so good. And I want our viewers to take home what you just said. You're showing up with a plan. You know your avatar. You know who you're looking for in that group that you're having conversations with. And you're prioritizing based on that connection that you're making, not just grabbing a bunch of business cards and never following up and just say you went and ate a donut, drank a coffee, whatever it is, but you had your time. And I want our viewers to kind of, because I don't think people in my travels, they put they don't put time into the equation. They think, oh, it doesn't cost me anything. I can go to this. I can go to this. Your time is the only thing. You only have 24 hours. If you look at this, we're going to talk about this at the end, but Elon Musk, I'm going to just say Oprah Winfrey, Jeff Bezos, they have 24 hours just like you and me. Do you think when you get to that level of performance, they manage their time differently than us? I would think so,
No,
because they're producing, they have a system, they're not wasting any time. That's for sure. And you can go to events. I know people go to every networking event that's out there. I mean, it's a great social thing, but if you're in business for social,
yeah,
then
no.
it's a nonprofit and it's called a hobby. And so you have to decide what you want to do. Do you want to grow your business, or do you want a hobby just to meet people and say hello and have some fun? I know I got off on a little bit of a
It's
tangent, but
okay.
I want our viewers to really embrace this. And I want you to comment on this one thing. Okay, you're a female, I'm a male. You guys have 6 cents. We only have 5. So Gary was a guy. When you talk to your girlfriends, it's like, hey, oh, you're wearing a nice dress. And it's like, it's really a different conversation than, I can't say that to a guy like, hey, you look really good today. It'll be weird. So you guys have a connecting ability. I was with a friend of mine last night and we went to a charity event, and I didn't realize what I'd said, but there was a caterer and he just had, how some beards are just like, they're just going every different direction. Some are well manicured. So I'm with Larry, and then we're talking to this guy. And so I said, you have a good looking beard. And I was going like, oh man, that was like creepy, you know? But then Larry said, because I said to him afterwards, I said, did you feel the same way I did when I made that comment? He goes, well, you were kind of with me. If you were one-on-one with the guy, I would have been out of there, because the guy can't compliment another guy on his appearance. It's just weird. Now, here's my point. It was just a sidetrack there. Guys don't connect like girls. So Brian Sullivan, who has a franchise called Senior Living Locator, he was in my studio a couple weeks ago with his coach from corporate. Now she's Buford, South Carolina. Phenomenal coach. But I called Brian and I said, Brian, you need a local strategy of how to build relationships locally. You're a corporate guy. He came out of corporate banking. I said, look at Tara, you might know Tara, but Tara, when you meet Tara, she's like your best friend. She's nurse. She's just very connecting, very trustworthy, very believable, and fun to be around. But when you take a guy, we have to work 10 times harder than the girls to connect. Do you see a difference from your eyes, and how can you share your experiences coming from a female set of eyes versus obviously myself?
Yeah. Well, I firmly believe men and women communicate differently. My husband reminds me of that almost daily.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to think a little bit differently as we approach the opposite sex. And I'm not meaning that in any negative way. It's just the way that it is. And you're absolutely right. Women talk about more things. We've got a broader spectrum of things to talk about. We manage our households, we manage the children, we manage the meal prep, blah, all that kind of stuff. So we just have a broader spectrum of things to talk about. With men, I generally start out with, where'd you grow up? If you're not a native, how did you happen to move to Atlanta? What kind of business was your dad in? What'd you learn from your dad growing up? The things that would lead them to the point where I can understand what they're doing in their business.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't have any coaching from their dad, well, there's a possibility that I could help them with their networking. But yes, I agree with you, Pete. Men and women approach a networking event very differently.
Yeah. And I'm an old school kind of person. Like, I would never, I don't know if you heard of this principle. It's the Billy Graham principle. You just don't put yourself in a compromising position, meaning
Yes.
we go to a place and there's just you and me, and you're married and I'm married. There can be only problems with that, because it's just natural. Mm-hmm. So you always would have another person as kind of the accountability person there too. So I never had I never had girl/friends. I had people that I knew, and it always seemed to disconnect, because I didn't want to be weird. Well, not weird, but I didn't want to put myself in that position. So it would be like asking for a one-on-one and say, okay, Joe, can you join Sara and I? And he'll go, why? Why? But so it's not a one-on-one, it's always a one-on-two, mm-hmm. which kind of puts us in a position that, you should do that, but it's harder, I think, for guys to, if you ask a girl, you go out, if I ask a guy, no problem, we'll talk golf, we'll talk about what you just said, but it doesn't work the other way. So I always found it because I have 2 sisters, 2 daughters, 5 granddaughters. So I know girls, but I don't know girls in business, because I felt like I had one arm tied behind my back because of just the dynamics of it. What would you say, how does a guy handle that situation where I know, they want to network with I'm going to say natural, but you guys have sixth sense. Like you said, a broader spectrum of topics that are more nurturing and connecting. How does a guy approach that what's your ideas on that?
Well, I'll steal something from my journalism school days, and that is learn some interviewing questions. Ask Chat GPT to help you come up with some questions of a man approaching a female. But it's always safe to start with business.
Yes.
And how'd you get into business? Gosh, what's your top interest in your business? What's the best way to serve your customers? Just go to the mindset that you're interviewing somebody and use interviewing skills. That's always worked for me.
No, that's really good. Well, I want you to go back to that comment about Chat GPT. Tell our viewers, as a networking professional, how are you using that tool?
Wow. I'm using Chat GPT to help me think of things primarily. I don't always use what Chat GPT has generated as my copy or whatever you want to call it, but I get Chat GPT to help me write emails. I use Chat GPT to help me write my course. It was very helpful in writing my course. Chat GPT, if you tell it that you want it to write your LinkedIn profile, it knows all the sections on LinkedIn and it will fill in your profile. Now, the trick there is you have to train Chat GPT how to write in your voice. And that's relatively easy to do. You get a piece of something that you've written, a couple of paragraphs long, the longer the better, and enter it in, tell Chat GPT that you're about to upload text that you wrote and that it should write everything from that point forward as if it were you. And that's what I did. I trained Chat GPT to write like me. And anytime I have a writer's block, I just open it and ask it a couple of questions.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, viewers, you want to take in what Sara just said. I hear in the marketplace, my partner's a geek, and he does AI, and he's been after me for this was 6 months ago. He said, "Are you using Chat GPT?" I said, "I got too much on my plate. I can't use that." Then I started using it for retention on books. Holy mackerel, my retention went up through the ceiling. I said, "Give me the 5 key takeaways of this book." Before I read it, my mind has been trained on these 5 things. So I'm retaining more. But I love what you just said. Train Chat GPT in your language, because we hear all this stuff. It's going to replace everything. It's a tool. And if you know how to use a tool better than your competitor, you will perform better. So I love that you shared with our viewers that. So I promised you 23 minutes, 25 minutes. So I want to honor my promise, because if you want to, if I ask you to come back and you say, "Well, you told me 20, 25 minutes, but you kept me on for 45." So no, I don't want to come back. So I'm gonna honor that. So here's what I want. This book my partner sent to me 1 week ago. I've read thousands of books, thousands, not always finishing them, but I would start them. So he said, "Pete," he sent me this book. So I did what you just said. I took the Chat GPT. I used that. Then I got it on audio. I got it on the print. I absorbed this thing and I plowed through it in 1 week. So then we have some people in the Philippines that are adapting executive assistant, because what I've seen in the marketplace is people are busy and they don't do the kind of things you're talking about, which nobody can replace Sara. Nobody. You can't outsource Sara.
Right.
You can outsource tasks that Sara does, but you can't outsource Sara, who has how many years of business experience. That's unique. That's you. But you can do little things. And so when I just started, So I told my VA, he's a VA specialist and he does video. I said, I want you to be able to help my clients with their email and their calendar. You be so they can buy back their time. I've been working 15 hours a day, 6.5 days a week for 18 months. Now that's not sustainable. You can't. I mean, it's called burnout.
Yeah.
I mean, I love what I do, but you can't work 15 hours a day, 6.5. You got to sprinkle in some fun. I have no life, no TV, no social, no nothing. I just work. That's not that's not the lifestyle I want to create. So I want our viewers, just before we go to your closing comment, I want our viewers to do this. If you think you have to be a guest to be able to take advantage of this. This is just for our community. If you think this is something that you can use in the marketplace and you're listening to how to network properly, you're listening to leveraging, you have to be the best at making those connections. If this will serve you, just either get a hold of me or you can go to Podcaster Pete Kane. By the end of the day, you'll be able to click on there. But we want to help our businesses succeed by using your time better than your competitor. So you're making more connections, you're building more relationships, and you're moving, I call that dial, that moving the needle of profitability on your business. So thanks, Sara. I want you to tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you before we go for your closing insight? Let me get hold on. Let me take this off. Okay. So while I'm putting your information on the screen, it'll take me a second because I've got to do it. Tell our viewers, what would be the one thing you would want them to take home from our time on this podcast? What would they be able to apply to their life?
The next time you go to a networking meeting, event, be sure to leave with appointments booked. That is the number one takeaway I want them to have. Never leave a meeting without other appointments already booked.
Dang, I like it. I love results. So I love that. And I'm trying to find where I'm not as organized as my assistant is trying to get me organized. So I know I just typed it in. What the heck did I do with it? Okay, Sara, why don't you, getting that, tell our viewers how can they get a hold of you? And I'll try to find it here.
My email address is Sara, Sara without an H, at branchconsulting.group. Yes, I know that sounds unusual, but it's Sara at branchconsulting.group. My telephone number is 470-707-3598. And I look forward to hearing from you all.
Awesome. I love that. So the next time, I'd love to have you back and explore more into your course.
Sure.
Because you got to continue to learn. I mean, if you're not learning specific skills, you're not going to grow your business. And what Sara, there's about 5-6 masterclass ideas that she dropped on you guys today that you can take and run with it, apply it to your business, and you're going to see your business grow. Now, the next time I'm going to know where I put your name. I don't know where I put it. I've been looking here and I know I put it somewhere, but anyway. So, Sara, I want to thank you for being a guest. And I know I want to challenge our viewers. Share this with people you know, people that want to get better at networking. Networking is a skill, and a skill is learned. So, did you mention your course?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, look, invest in yourself. You're the best investment you can ever make. Invest in yourself and get a course that'll allow you to put more to your bottom line. So, thank you, Sara. I appreciate you taking the time to join us on Networking Matters. I love it. Okay.
Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful day. And thanks to our listeners for being with us this morning.